Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're testing Clair Obscur Expedition 33 on the RTX 3060 Ti. We're going to compare low, medium, high, and epic settings, so you can see exactly how this game looks and performs at each level. Let's dive right into the graphic settings first, to show you what changes across these presets before we hit the gameplay. Here's Clair Obscur, running on low settings. Right away, you'll notice the textures are flat. The shadows are either missing or very simplified, and distant objects look a bit washed out. The world feels less alive as effects like fog and particle systems are toned down. On the RTX 3060 Ti, performance is excellent. We're seeing frame rates in the 75 to 85 FPS range in most areas. This is perfect for players who prioritize smooth performance over visuals or those with older hardware. Even though it's low, the game's stunning art design still manages to shine. Close-up character models hold decent detail, though environments lack the depth and richness of higher settings. You'll notice how lighting feels flat, and reflections on water are either absent or very minimal. The responsiveness here is also worth mentioning. Combat feels incredibly snappy, and movement is fluid, which makes it a solid option for players focused on gameplay performance. One more thing. Loading times feel slightly faster on lower settings since the system isn't pushing ultra textures or complex shadows. So, if you're exploring large areas or running on a tight system, this preset makes sense. However, for players who care about visual immersion and want to see the full artistic design of the game, let's move on to medium and see how things improve. Switching over to medium settings, the difference is clear and immediate. Textures gain more depth, shadows look more natural, and environmental effects like fog, mist, and ambient occlusion begin to make the world feel alive again. Here, the RTX 3060 Ti maintains a solid 60 to 70 FPS range. It's a slight dip compared to low, but still very playable. You start seeing richer colors and more dynamic lighting across the environment. You notice the improvements in water surfaces and reflections. They now carry a soft gloss and move more realistically. Vegetation also appears denser, and particle effects like sparks or debris during action sequences are much more visible. This preset really hits the sweet spot for most players. The balance between visuals and performance means you get an immersive experience without dropping into uncomfortable FPS levels. Also, at medium, you'll spot subtle improvements in character animations. Cloth physics and environmental interactions become more noticeable, adding to the realism. If you're playing at 1080p and want to enjoy the game without having to tweak settings constantly, medium could be your ideal choice. Now, let's push it further and see what high brings to the table. Now we're on high settings, and this is where Clair Obscur really begins to flex its artistic muscles. The RTX 3060 Ti holds up decently here, averaging 50 to 60 FPS in most areas. There are occasional dips to the high 40s during heavy combat or in densely populated zones, but overall, it's smooth enough for most players. The world looks much more alive. Textures are highly detailed, shadows are more dynamic and accurate, and lighting changes based on the time of day or environmental effects like fog rolling in. Reflections are much sharper and add a real sense of depth to surfaces. Even particle effects see a huge jump here. Sparks fly more realistically, dust particles catch the light beautifully, and explosions have a layered depth that feels cinematic. Distant objects now render with more clarity. You'll notice small environmental details like leaves rustling in the wind or tiny ripples on water surfaces, elements that weren't as visible in medium. Anti-aliasing also does a stellar job on high. Jagged edges are smoothed out, which is especially noticeable during fast-paced sequences or while exploring complex environments. For players who value visuals, but still want to maintain a decent frame rate, high is likely the best choice. Now, let's push the RTX 3060 Ti to its limits with epic settings. Finally, let's see how epic settings perform. At this level, everything is maxed out. Ultra textures, volumetric lighting, high-quality shadows, and if you enable ray tracing, reflections and ambient lighting become absolutely stunning. On the RTX 3060 Ti, we're seeing frame rates hover between 35 to 45 FPS in open-world areas, occasionally dipping into the low 30s during heavy action sequences. It's playable, but you might notice some stuttering in high-density areas. Visually, though, this is a whole new level. Shadows react dynamically to light sources. Water reflections are mirror-like, and environmental details like debris, weather effects, and particle systems make everything feel alive and immersive. If you pause and take a moment to look around, the level of detail is breathtaking. You can see fine textures in character clothing, intricate designs in architecture, and realistic weather transitions. For players seeking the ultimate cinematic experience and willing to accept a slightly lower frame rate, or using DLSS to boost FPS, epic settings deliver unparalleled visual fidelity. So, there you have it. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 on low, medium, high, and epic settings with the RTX 3060 Ti. Which preset do you think offers the best balance of visuals and performance? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more gaming tests and comparisons. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.